Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Neca Gargoyles Goliath. This is the Sega Genesis video game variation. I got this figure from Target.com. I believe he's still in stock right now. I also believe this is one of two different video game versions we're going to be getting. This one is more of a gray color, and there's going to be a purple sort of video game version also coming, at least according to NECA's Christmas checklist. Now, I'm not super excited for the video game appearances. Don't get me wrong, I actually played the video game back in the day, and it was pretty fun. But I already have Goliath. I don't need these weird repaints. But I'm all in for this Gargoyles line. I'm a huge fan of Gargoyles, and there's nothing they're going to release that I won't get for this line. That being said, let's take a look at the packaging. Disney Gargoyles, NECA, Goliath. I love they have the sort of NECA logo and the old Sega sort of style here. That's pretty cool. Nice touch. Ages 14 plus. Disney Gargoyles Goliath. One side. Gargoyles Goliath. Other side. Here he is posed up. He looks very similar to Thalog. On the back side, here's Goliath on the side of a building. Goliath with the wings. Relaxed wings. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there's his barcode, if that helps anybody. This is one of NECA's ultimate figures. Window box packaging, you can hear the Velcro as I open it up. On the inside flap, we have the figure posed up, and then here he is with all of his accessories. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He comes with two sets of wings, the regular outstretched wings and the cloaked wings. He has a total of 4 different hands, 2 heads, and a removable tail. But before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Goliath, based off the Sega Genesis video game appearance. I remember playing that game back in the day. I didn't have a Sega, but I think a buddy brought one over one time. He made that infamous scream. This guy's done in sort of a gray color scheme, cel-shaded, kind of old school, choppy video game. I believe there's another version coming out, and that's kind of interesting, but unnecessary. This guy here almost looks like Goliath, sort of semi in stone state, which is not a thing. Looks like kind of an evil version of Goliath. We already got the altered, repainted version of Goliath that's a clone of Thalog, so I'm not sure what I'll use this guy for. But in the meantime, he's just a useless Goliath variant. Now, one interesting thing I want to note is he comes with the large, wide wings and the cloaked wings. None of the figures have come that way before. You have to buy a separate smaller figure to get the cloaked wings, so who knows. I could definitely see some people getting a little upset that this guy comes with both sets of wings and no other figures do, and this is arguably the least desirable Gargoyle figure out there. Now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at him. So, the Goliath, and like I said, he looks kind of evil. The red eyes really don't help with that. The dark paint scheme, I mean, visually it looks good. But like I said, I'm not sure what I'm going to use this for besides just a Goliath variant. He's got that flat hair, a little sort of horn over the top of his face. Paint job is nice. You can see it's a little darker around his cheeks. He's cel-shaded. You can totally see that on the back, on his neck, where it's darker and then light at the front. He's got these relaxed wings on. Well, cloaked wings. And I love them. They're awesome. I could probably use these for Thalog in the meantime. He's got loincloth here, more cel shading. Looks like double jointed elbows. Single jointed knees. Giant feet. He looks really, really nice. I love this Gargoyles line. They did an excellent job sculpting the figures. They just did a shitty job with these giant wings here. Hopefully, as the line goes on, it'll only get better and better. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. It looks really good, but just screams an evil Goliath to me. And here's the figure broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, and let's start off with his hands. Now let's take a look at his hands. He has a total of 4 hands, 2 left hands, and 2 right hands. The original release of Goliath had a total of 6 hands, but of course this guy should come with less accessories as he has the extra pair of wings, thus offsetting the value. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists, and here's his next pair of hands. These are some open hands. These could be some grabbing or throwing hands, some clawing or climbing hands. Now for his heads. He He has two of them, one with a normal expression, one with an angry, snarling expression. Here he is with his first head. This one has the normal expression, and here's his alternate head. This is the more angry head. You can see the teeth exposed. He's growling. Now let's look at his tail. He's got this long tail here, made of kind of a rubbery material. You can see it's got some holes, let it breathe. It's got a peg here with hinge articulation. It has a bendy wire inside. You can allow it to take different shapes. Here's Goliath without the tail. You can see the sort of hole in the back where it's going to peg into. And here he is with the tail attached. These gargoyles can be kind of top heavy. Best way to stand them up is just sort of lean them back on the tail. Their weight kind of going backwards a little bit. I've had no issues doing that in the past. Now that we have the tail attached, let's talk about his feet. The easiest way to stand up Goliath is stand up just like this, with the back talon, the front toes on the ground. That's not actually correct. The right way for a gargoyle to stand is the feet kind of down like this, the toes up, standing each foot like so. That is how they stood on the TV show. Standing him up like this is the right way to do it. It makes the gargoyle a little bit taller, and then you have the tail to support him standing, so it works out okay. Now let's check out his wings. He has two sets. He has the large outstretched hard plastic wings, and then he has the cloaked wings. What I really like is a pair of relaxed wings. They're kind of the wings when they're upright behind the gargoyles, taking up a lot less space. Now there are just so many things I could say about these wings. This is the first gargoyle figure to actually come with both sets of wings, and that should be a standard. But I do understand they come with a lot of accessories. I want to keep that going. Now, the wings, the original Goliath, Thalog, Demona have had such poor issues with the wings. First of all, they're just too big. It makes it really hard for them to interact with other gargoyles figures. They look fantastic with the outstretched wings, maybe in a gliding pose or on top of a building, but I want them inside interacting with one another. That's where the cloaked wings come in. I appreciate them, but I just want some normal wings behind them, not taking up as much space. In addition to that, I have issues with the wings not staying upright, kind of sagging, like the peg hole gets loose over time. They should have made that notched. I don't know, like the shape of sort of a pentagon. That way you could put them in there, take them out, adjust them. That way they'll be at different heights and you don't have to worry about the peg getting loose. And they're just so damn big. They're made of this hard plastic, the outstretched wings, and they're not exactly fragile, but they should be some sort of rubbery material, I feel like. That's what the cloaked wings are made of. Anyway, I'll get off my soap opera about the wings here. Definitely disappointing, and they haven't really course corrected. Their version of course correcting is just including extra wings with future figures, which works for a person like me, but people that don't want to buy every single figure could potentially get the shaft. And even an accessory set, I don't think that's really the answer. Just making you spend extra money for these already expensive figures. Just very frustrating. I wish the wings were different from the start. That being said, let's take a look. Here are the cloaked wings, made of a rubbery material, very bendable. They're also cel-shaded like the rest of the figure, black, gray, a little bit of blue on the inside. They do look good, with sort of talons crossed, some pegs for the back. Then we have the larger wings, hard plastic. Sculpt is fantastic. You can see almost like veiny. He's got the different sort of lines going through there. Different color scheme is nice. Little talon top here. It's got a peg here, hinge articulation with rotation. Like I said, they look fantastic. They're just too damn big. Here's Goliath with the outstretched wings. Like I said, they look fantastic, very intimidating. He has a strong presence to him like this, but just so big. He wouldn't have his wings flapping out like this while he's inside of a building or inside of a castle talking to other gargoyles, and that is what I want my Goliath to be doing most of the time. And these wings have a good amount of articulation. They're hinged with rotation there, hinged in the back. You can hear it clicking into place. Not really a fan of that. Almost feels like I'm breaking them. Still, they look good. They do have some function, but they're hard to stay in place over time. They only get worse and worse. And then here's this Sega Genesis version of Goliath with the cloaked wings. It looks much better. But don't get me wrong, the other ones look good. They just don't function very good. These here are sort of all-purpose wings. But honestly, he didn't have them cloaked most of the time. Normally, they're just back in what I would call the relaxed position. I really hope we get some sort of solution to that. We need those wings. Even if it's an accessory set for all the gargoyles, that would be awesome for me. But frustrating for some people, as we don't want to spend even more money on these figures. Here's Thalog with these cloaked wings. They should look pretty good on him. The color scheme's not a perfect match, but it definitely works at first glance. Some of the other figures like Broadway, you can use the relaxed wings, but just doesn't look right with the color scheme. Here's a look at the regular Goliath with the relaxed wings next to the video game version. Now I wanted to check out the differences between this video game Goliath and the original version. Besides the obvious paint differences, and there are none, they are 100% the same figure, same sculpt, just a different paint job. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 8.1 inches tall, which can translate to about 20.5 centimeters. And think this guy's in a 7-inch scale, because gargoyles are larger than the average size of man. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side, up and down about that much, tilt his head a little bit from side to side. Now, the hair is a little bit of an issue with the wings here. He's got the long hair. Kind of see as I turned it, it kind of pushed that wing down. And he always sort of has a problem. It feels like he's looking down when he has the wings attached. It just can't quite go all the way up, or at least it doesn't stay there. The hair really fights and pushes it back. The wings themselves, they can rotate. They're hinged, and you can hear that noise. I absolutely hate it. Shoulders on a ball joint, they go out less than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a bicep cut below that. He's got double jointed elbows below that. His wrist here can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. In his torso, he's got a ball joint, rotate around, forward and back. Another one is his waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, good range of motion, a ton more out of the torso than the waist. Legs, complete of splits, ball joints. His legs can rotate independently of the ball. Then go forward, about that much. Back, not very much. Single jointed knee, goes in more than 90 degrees with rotation. His ankle, forward and back, rotation. His toes, forward and back with a little bit of rotation. And his tail, at the base, it can rotate. It's also hinged, and it has the bendy wire. Here's an image of Goliath wrapped around a rooftop in Manhattan. My best attempt to recreate the back of the packaging, although I'll tell you, on the back of the packaging here, it sure looks like he's humping the side of the building and snarling while he's doing it. Really weird image that I can't unsee now that I've seen it. And here's Goliath on top of a castle type setting. Now let's check him out in front of some different various castle dioramas. Here he is in front of the background I've used for the majority of the video. This is 2 Mezco 112 Collective Frankenstein doorways on the sides, and in the middle, a Mezco Silent Screamers Golem doorway. Works out for a nice castle background. Here's Goliath in front of the old Kenner Gargoyles castle. Boy, am I glad I bought this thing a long time ago. This older Kenner castle can fold open. Here he is, with the outside as a nice background. It is a smaller scale, but works pretty good for a background piece. And this castle has both an outside and an inside. Here he is, in front of the inside of the castle. And here he is, in front of a Mattel He-Man Master of the Universe Classics Castle Grayskull. And similar to the Kenner Gargoyles castle, this Castle Grayskull can open up. Here's Goliath in front of the outside. And here, on the inside of that castle, Castle Grayskull is quite large and is very nice to accommodate the gargoyles on both the inside and the outside. Like I said, the castle is very large and can accommodate the entire clan. And here he is in the Extreme Sets dungeon. Yeah, it's a dungeon, but it also looks like a nice castle setting, and it's very spacious. It's even large enough to accommodate Goliath with his spread out wings, but not the entire clan. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Gargoyles figures. Here he is, next to the standard version of Goliath. This standard version is wearing the cloaked wings that came with Bronx. Exactly the same figure, at least if you have both the sets of wings. And here he is next to Thalog, which is also the exact same sculpt, but it should be. The clone looked identical except for the coloring in the show. Here are all 3 versions of Goliath, although The third one is Thalog, not Goliath, but all three share the exact same body sculpt and mold, and I believe they're making another video game variation of Goliath. Here's this video game Goliath, next to the rest of the Manhattan clan that they've released, and none of them have any chance of getting the video game treatment. And here he is, next to the villains they've released so far, Demona and Thalog. Xanatos is going to be next. Here are all of the gargoyles that NECA has released so far. We have 8 of them. When they first launched the line, they said they were attempting to release 1 gargoyle figure a month. And boy, did that not work out. They're finally cranking a few out. I've gotten 3 this month, which is probably the first time they've ever dropped that many at one time. Looking forward to some more, though. We've seen on NECA's Gargoyles checklist they released for Christmas, some of the other figures coming real soon are going to be Angela, Lexington, another video game version of Goliath, Coldstone, Xanatos in business suit, Xanatos in his Steel Clan gargoyle suit, and then the Steel Clan robot. Since then, we've also seen Elisa Maza, Macbeth has been teased, and I believe one of the hunters from Hunter's Moon as well. And that better just be the beginning. I want this line to get the Ninja Turtle animated treatment, go really deep into the obscure characters. Now let's check them out. Next is some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how it fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you know which lines you can mix them with. Since he's a NECA figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. But first, let's check them out with some of his NECA brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from NECA Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to even more NECA figures. And now, with even more NECA figures, these are some larger, more monstrous figures. And now, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures, here's Goliath, next to a red delicious apple. And here he is, next to some DST, or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some McFarlane toys. And here he is, standing with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is, next to some Mafex figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, he's a pretty nice figure. The sculpt and paint job are fantastic. He's visually pleasing. The accessories are pretty cool. The fact that he comes with both sets of wings, I hope that becomes a new standard. Articulation is pretty good. Maybe a little bit limited in the knee area, but it works pretty nice. Now the original Goliath, I probably rated him like an 8.5 out of 10. And this is the exact same figure, except for the paint job, which doesn't do very much for me. Sure, I'm a huge Gargoyles fan, and I will buy everything NECA puts out, but this video game repaint just doesn't do much for me. I actually played the Sega game a little bit way back in the day, but I still just don't really want it. It looks nice, it's a good shelf piece, but if you're world building the Gargoyles, at least that's my ultimate goal, this guy doesn't really have a great place. He does look nice, kind of looks like a semi-stone version of Goliath. That being said, his rating is going to be a 6.5 out of 10. He's just going to go down 2 points because he's not a normal looking gargoyle to add to the overall universe. But I do enjoy action figure variants, right up my alley. Like I said, it's a very nice figure, but I'm not enjoying him nearly as much as the regular versions of the gargoyles. I'm looking forward to adding to that collection. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.